Okay, this is the Fluke 62 Max Plus infrared thermometer. I'm going to show you what it came with first and then explain some of the features and all that. First off, you've got the thermometer itself, and it came with a carabiner that clips through this hole that's built into the base of it, so you can attach it to your belt or secure it to a tool bag or a box even. And they said this thermometer has been drop tested to a yard. I wouldn't advise just dropping it, but supposedly it's pretty durable that way, so that's good to have. The case itself, the thermometer has a rubberized cover all the way around it. It doesn't come off, unlike some of their other thermometers, but which gives it a nice grip. You know, you can, the entire housing, the only area in fact that's really not rubber covered, of course, is the trigger, and then this hard plastic here, and then of course the display. But the buttons even are rubber, so that's nice. It gives you a good grip ability. And it also comes with a printed manual here that's in multiple languages. Most of what's in it is, there's some writing in it that's in there which just has the technical information, then how to use it is largely photos. But still, that's a nice thing to have. And there's all that. So that's really what comes in. Also comes in a clamshell case that you don't even really need to use scissors to open it. It pops open by hand. So that's a nice way to be able to get it out of the packaging. And I'll show you what it has here on the back. You have 3 buttons. This one's sell, which means select, and then you have an up and down button, and I'll show you how to use that. That's for only one purpose. I'll get to that. And then you have set. So anyway, here's how you use it. I'm going to turn it on for a moment. And now you can see it says hold and then max and then EMS. Now EMS stands for emissivity. It turns itself off automatically after, I think it's 7 seconds, by the way. So anyway, I'll do that again. I'm going to show you the settings first. So when you first get these, by the way, they default to Celsius scale. The lasers aren't on, which are what you use to target the what you're checking. That's off. The lasers are off by default, and the display's backlight is also off by default. So just so you know, when you first get these, you'll probably want to turn those 3 things on to switch it from Celsius to Fahrenheit, and turn the backlight on, and also have the lasers on. Surprising those aren't on by default, but they're easy to turn on. So anyway, I'll show you how you get to those. So all you've got to do to get to the settings is push the trigger really quick, and then I'll do it again. Anyway, EMS, by the way, down there you see in the corner stands for emissivity, and I'll go into that at the end here. So first off, you see how you hit the sell button. It goes from max to min to average to diff. That's for the temperature. So you can check the difference between it defaults to max on this setting in the corner, but you can also set it to check for the minimum. And what that means is, while you're scanning and holding the button in, it'll show you the maximum temperature down in the corner, and then the current temperatures in the big numbers. So or you can switch to min scale, and it'll show what the minimums that you checked. You can do that after you've checked it. And then it also has average, and then it'll show the difference between the high and the low. So that's kind of nice. So anyway, I'm moving on to the next scale. So I'll max, min, average, difference. Okay, now you have light. And you select that. You see how there you have the select. You switch it between the off and on. LITE. That's how they abbreviated it. So anyway, you've got that. Then back to here. LAS, LAS, that stands for laser. That's what I was talking about with the laser. So by default, it comes this way, off. So you want to enable it by selecting on. And then you have this alarm, which allows you to have an alarm for high or the low setting. Oops, I've got to turn it back on. It got away from me. I have to keep a hand on it for every now and then. Anyway, you have alarm, high off, or low. I'll just keep doing that to keep it on. And that way you can actually have it give you a signal when you get over a certain high temperature or a certain low temperature, which might come in handy if you're wanting to know the temperatures you're checking are above a certain level. It will alert you right away. Of course, you have the low, as I was saying here. Now for this setting here, this is important. This is emissivity, and what that allows you to do is change it for certain substances you may be checking with this, because emissivities are different for each surface you're going to check. Like steel has one emissivity, shiny steel has another, stainless has another, aluminum has another, drywall, wood, you name it, they're going to have different emissivities. And what that means is they have a kind of a reflective quality that allows you to get a, if you don't have it set properly, you won't get an accurate reading with this. It's a very accurate thermometer. It's supposed to be plus or minus like 1/2 of a degree. So that's really good, but unless you have your emissivity set properly, it won't give you really good fitting. It defaults to 0.95 for emissivity, by the way. And that works really well for most surfaces, but there are tables that have emissivities for, you know, hundreds of different surfaces. So I'll show you that in a moment. But I mean, that's how you change it. Use the up and down arrow to change it. And I don't know what the max you can set it to, but it's in the double digits, I guess. And then you can also drop it down as well. I think, like, for instance, gravel of all things, as I recall, was like a 0.28. So there's that. So I'll switch from emissivity to the next setting. And here's where you select between Fahrenheit and Celsius scale. You can see there. Alright, Celsius, most people, at least in the US, will want Fahrenheit. And the last setting, now, this setting here had me puzzled for the longest time, and I couldn't understand what it meant. And the manual doesn't explain it that very well either, because all it does is give you a pictorial representation of what it means. And the pictorial representation just shows you holding the trigger in, and that shows a clock with showing 10 minutes elapsing, and then that's all it shows. What I found out after going on the web and looking at it was what trig means. It just allows the unit to shut itself off if the trigger is held in for 10 minutes or longer. So that might be handy if you're, say, had it in a toolbox or tool bag and something got up against it and it pushed it in and it didn't release, and that would prevent it from running down the battery. So that's what that's for. I think that should be enabled by default, so I have enabled it. But anyway, you can select it here. And now back to the setting. I'll show you how it works really quickly. It's got two lasers that come out of it. You see out of the front, and then in the middle is the infrared sensor that actually checks the temperature. So the lasers allow you to target it. So I'll show you at this table. You see where the lasers are, and you know what point exactly you're checking because it's directly between the lasers. And the lasers get farther apart as you move it away, and you'll notice they also rotate slightly. There's some purpose for why they rotate, but either way, you know that what you're checking is between those. So that's the other thing, is with more accurate readings, you know, down to a pinpoint, you've got to get much closer than you would from others. But that allows it to tell you exactly where you're checking. And I think it has a ratio of, I think it's 1 to 12. So at 1 foot away, it'll check, well, like 12 inches away, it'll check about, yeah, it's a 1-inch spot. And then as you double your distance, the spot distance goes up by a ratio of 12. So anyway, you can see the reading here as it's moving. You see in the lower right hand corner, it's showing the max setting. Now if I had it switched to minimum, you could get the minimum setting, or it'll even show you the average or the difference. But it defaults to max. I'm showing you how that works. You know, go to different surface. Right now it's obviously pretty even temperature here. And that's how that goes. I'll go ahead and shut it off, and then I'll show you one last thing. If you do use one of these types of thermometers, you want to get this thing here. You can find these all over the web. It's just a table of total emissivity, and it's published specifically for these types of thermometers, not just the Fluke, but really any type of infrared thermometer. And it's got emissivities for just about anything you could think of, and that'd come in handy, especially for guys working on HVAC equipment, guys working in power plants, things of that sort, so that you know what the temperature is. It's got all the numbers you'd want to switch your emissivity to on the thermometer to check. And so you can find these just about anywhere, and just look up emissivity table. That's the best way to search for them. And that's it. And this thing works pretty well. I'm going to be using it for a few other things around the house. So thanks a lot for watching.